The night shift at Riverside General was usually calm, but Nurse Nora Bennett had felt uneasy since the moment she arrived. Something about the air felt heavier, as if waiting for a storm no one else could see. She pushed her cart down the dim hallway, humming softly to keep herself awake. Halfway through her rounds, she stopped. A new patient had been added to her chart, room 213, someone admitted only an hour earlier. But the strange part was the note at the bottom. No identification, stable vitals, extreme disorientation. Nora frowned. Disorientation cases were normal, but no ID at all? Not even a wallet, phone, or name? That was rare. She opened the door quietly. A man in his early 30s sat upright on the bed, staring at her as if he had been waiting. His eyes, sharp, calm, and strangely familiar, followed her every move. "You're Nora Bennett," he said before she could speak. Nora froze. "Did someone tell you that?" He shook his head. "No, I've always known your name." Nora blinked, unsettled. "Okay, do you remember your own name?" "Yes," he said softly. "It's Evan Mercer." "All right, Evan," she said carefully. "Can you tell me what happened?" He hesitated, as if measuring every word. "I shouldn't be here yet." Nora raised an eyebrow. "Yet? What does that mean?" Evan smiled slightly, a mix of sadness and fondness. "Tonight, you're supposed to drink 2 cups of coffee to stay awake, but you'll only drink 1. You'll check on a patient in room 108 in 8 minutes, and your sister will call at 2:17 a.m. to ask if you fed her dog earlier." Nora's heart raced. "How do you know that?" "Because," he whispered, "I'm from 10 years in your future." A cold shiver ran down her spine. She stepped back, instinctively reaching for the call button, but Evan held up a hand. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "I'm here because your life is about to change, and you need to trust me, even if none of this makes sense." Nora couldn't tell if he was delusional or dangerously accurate, but something in his eyes, a mixture of desperation and certainty, made her pause. "What do you want from me?" she finally asked. Evan exhaled deeply. "To warn you about something you can't see yet." The monitor beeped softly behind him, steady but tense, like the beginning of a countdown. And Nora realized one thing. This night was no longer normal. It was the beginning of something far bigger. Nora leaned against the wall outside room 213, her heart pounding. She needed to think clearly. Patients sometimes knew things. Maybe someone told him her name. Maybe he was guessing. But her sister calling at 2:17 a.m.? That was oddly specific. She stepped back inside. Evan sat calmly, watching her as though reading her thoughts. "You think I'm crazy?" he said. "I think you're confused," Nora replied, keeping her professional tone. "If you're from the future, prove it." He nodded once. "Your father's watch," he said. "The gold one he gave you when you got accepted into nursing school. It stopped working last month. You keep it in your left jacket pocket even though you don't wear it." Nora's breath caught. She did have the watch. In her left pocket. No one at the hospital knew that. "How?" "And," Evan continued softly, "you're planning to move to Chicago next spring, but you'll change your mind after what happens tonight." A chill rippled through her. "What happens tonight?" she whispered. Evan didn't answer at first. Instead, he closed his eyes, breathing slowly, as if steadying himself. "A fire," he finally said. "Small at first, over the storage wing. A short circuit. It will begin in exactly 43 minutes unless we stop it." Nora's stomach twisted. "There are alarms, sprinklers, systems for that." "Not in the old wing," Evan said. "It's been malfunctioning for years, but the inspection documents were forged to avoid shutdowns." Nora's mind spun. If he was lying, he was good at it. Too good. She backed toward the door. "I'm going to call security." "You won't?" Evan said quietly. Why? Because you care more than anyone else here, and because deep down you already believe me. Nora opened her mouth to argue, but her phone buzzed. 2:17 a.m. flashed on the screen. Her sister was calling. Her hand trembled as she answered. Hello? Hey, her sister said casually. Just checking. Did you feed my dog today? I think I forgot to ask earlier. Nora's knees nearly buckled. She hung up without replying and stared at Evan, fear and disbelief swirling like a storm. You see, he said gently, I'm not here to frighten you. I'm here because tonight is the moment your life splits in two. Nora swallowed hard. What do we do? We stop the fire, Evan said, together. And for reasons she couldn't explain, Nora nodded. Because whether she liked it or not, he knew too much to be lying. Nora and Evan slipped quietly down the dim corridors, the hospital humming softly like a sleeping beast. The night shift was calm, too calm for what Evan claimed would happen. How do you know the exact time? Nora whispered. Evan kept walking. Because I lived it. 10 years from now, your name is the headline of every news station after tonight. Nora froze. What? Why? He turned to her, eyes heavy with something deeper than fear. Because you saved dozens of lives. But you didn't make it out. Her pulse stuttered. Then why am I alive in your future? Because, Evan whispered, I came back to change that. Nora stared at him, really stared, and for a brief moment she believed him completely. They reached the old storage wing, its paint peeling, fluorescent lights flickering like dying fireflies. The hum of faulty wiring echoed faintly. Here, Evan said, pointing toward a utility panel. The spark happens behind this wall. Nora knelt, pulling out her small emergency toolkit. If what you're saying is true, shouldn't we evacuate the whole floor? We can't, Evan said quickly. If we pull the alarm now, something worse happens. What? A power overload. The generator explodes. That kills even more people. Nora swallowed. So what do we do? Evan crouched beside her. We cut off the power manually, before the wire overheats. She hesitated, hands trembling over the screws. And you're sure this works? He held her wrist gently. I wouldn't risk your life again. Nora's breath caught at the word again, but there was no time for questions. She began unscrewing the panel, metal clinking softly. Suddenly, a sharp burning smell cut through the air. Evan, she whispered. Smoke curled from the bottom of the wall. It's starting early, Evan said, eyes wide. The timelines are shifting because I'm here. Panic surged through her. So what now? Evan grabbed a fire extinguisher from the corner. Now we fight it directly. Flames licked through the cracked panel. Alarms hadn't gone off yet. Nora yanked the panel free, revealing glowing wires and a small ignition flame. Evan sprayed the extinguisher, but the fire kept spreading. It's not enough, Nora cried. Evan clenched his jaw. You have to pull the emergency breaker valve in the basement. That's 2 floors down. I'll hold the fire. Go. Nora hesitated. 1 second too long. Go, Nora! She ran, heart hammering as Evan battled the flames alone. And somewhere deep within the hospital, a countdown had begun. Nora sprinted down the stairwell, her feet echoing like gunshots. Smoke drifted from the vents, faint now, but growing. She reached the basement door, shoved it open, and dashed to the old breaker valve. A heavy metal wheel stood in front of her. Come on, she whispered, gripping it. It didn't budge. She planted her feet, using every ounce of strength. Please, turn! With a violent clang, the valve jerked and finally spun. The lights above flickered, then stabilized. Power to the old wing was gone. Nora gasped in relief and raced back upstairs. But when she reached the storage hallway, her relief evaporated. Smoke clouded the corridor. Fire alarms finally screamed. Sprinklers hissed overhead. Nora! A voice coughed. Evan stumbled out of the smoke, soot covering his face. She rushed forward and caught him. "You're alive!" "So are you," he whispered. "We did it." But then Nora noticed something strange. Evan's body flickered like a glitch. "What's happening to you?" she whispered. He smiled sadly. "My timeline is changing. I was never supposed to survive the original fire. When you died that night, your sister, she changed everything. She raised money, funded research. 10 years later, I volunteered for the temporal program." "Temporal program?" Nora echoed. "A classified project, a way to send one person back, once, to alter a catastrophic event." Nora swallowed hard. "Why you?" Evan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, burnt photograph. It was a picture of Nora, older, smiling. Nora's heart stopped. What is that?" "In my timeline," Evan said gently, "you became someone important. Someone I loved deeply. Someone I lost." Her breath trembled. "Are you saying we—" He nodded. "You never knew me today, not yet, but 10 years from now, you would." Tears blurred her eyes. "Evan?" He touched her hand lightly, his figure flickering harder now. "By saving you, I've erased the man I used to be. That future can't happen anymore. So you'll disappear?" He nodded. It was worth it. Nora's tears fell freely. "I don't want you to go." Evan smiled softly. "You will meet me again, just not the version standing in front of you." His last words echoed like a warm whisper. "Live the life I came back to protect." And with a final flicker of light, Evan vanished. The alarms continued blaring, staff rushed in, and chaos erupted. But Nora stood frozen, hands still hanging in the air where he once stood. Somewhere in the future, a different Evan existed, and somewhere in her heart, hope took root.